intermediary has been defined in Information Technology Act 2002. Section 2W of the IT Act 2002 defines intermediary with respect to any particular electronic records, means any person who on behalf of another person receives, stores or transmits that record. They mean, taking a case of Amazon, various sellers put up their goods on their website and it basically stores that kind of data on behalf of them, and anyone who basically tries to buy any product from their website can buy from it. So that's why the definition includes telecom service providers, network service providers, internet service providers, web hosting service providers, service engines, online payment services, online auction sites, online marketplaces, and cyber cafes. This definition, especially online marketplaces, includes websites like Amazon, Flipkart, Tata Click, etc. within its ambit. Now coming to the main governing section, which provides that in what kind of scenario can an intermediary be exempted from liability. So section 79 of the Information Technology Act deals with it. It starts with a notwithstanding anything contained in any other law for the time being enforced. So it has a non-absentia clause, which means it gives an overriding effect over other laws. It further provides that an intermediary shall not be liable for any third-party information, data, or communication link made available or hosted by him, subject to the provisions of subsection 2 and 3. It gives a blanket immunity to intermediary, subject to subsection 2 and 3. So if they comply with 79.2 and 79.3, in those scenarios, intermediary will not be liable for any kind of third-party information, data or communication which is there on their website. What does subsection 2 provides? Subsection 2 provides that the function of the intermediary is limited to providing access to a communication system over which information made available by third party is transmitted or temporarily stored or hosted. So this is the first part. The second part is the intermediary does not initiate the transmission, select the receiver of the transmission, select or modify the information contained in the transmission. So intermediary should not initiate the transmission. It means I should not on my own put up any good. I should not select any receiver of those particular goods and select or modify the information contained in the transmission. I should not, like if they are giving some description of the goods, I do not have the authority to change it. Obviously, when they are putting up that stuff on my website, they'll have to disclose and give an undertaking that they have rights to put up that good on my website. But as an intermediary, my role is very limited. I do not have power to initiate the transmission, select the receiver of the transmission, select or modify the information contained in the transmission. And the last part being, the intermediary observes due diligence. What does due diligence means in this scenario? We'll have to see the guidelines framed there under. I'll just come to the guidelines in the later part of the slides, but let's come to subsection 3, because if we have to claim exemption from liability, the provisions of subsection 1 shall not apply if the intermediary has conspired or abetted or aided or induced. That means there should not be any kind of effort or any kind of I should not commit or I should not be involved in the commission of the unlawful act. B says upon, I'll just highlight it, it says upon receiving actual knowledge or on being notified by the appropriate government. This part was challenged in a writ petition before the Supreme Court of India in Sher Singha versus Union of India, and the court read down section 79(3)(b). Read down means that rather than reading section 79(3)(b) as it is, it will now be read as following. Section 79 is valid subject to section 79(3)(b) being read down to mean that an intermediary upon receiving actual knowledge from a court order or on being notified by the appropriate government or its agency that unlawful acts relatable to Article 19(2) of the Constitution are going to be committed, then fails to expeditiously remove or disable access to such material. So now section 79(3)(b) has be interpreted to mean that you need to get actual knowledge, and it will be only mean to be actual knowledge if you are getting in a court order. That means if I have to stop someone from putting anything on his website, I have to get a court order saying that please do not put it up on the website, and I'll make it good in the in the guidelines provided in the intermediary guidelines as to how this has to be interpreted. So now we are clear as to how intermediary is defined and in what scenario can they be exempted from liability. Then there are intermediary guidelines which have been framed under Section 87 of the Information Technology. Then there are intermediary guidelines which have been framed under Section 87 of the Information Technology Act, read with Section 79(2) of the IT Act. So under these two provisions, guidelines have been framed. Just for the purpose of the audience, I'll just read it out. Clause 3 provides for due diligence to be observed by intermediaries. As we remember, we just read Section 79(3), which says that some certain due diligence has to be followed by an intermediary. How do you follow it? Clause 3 of the intermediary guidelines provides for it. Clause 3.2 further lays down certain categories which cannot be hosted at all by the intermediaries. Clause D talks about IPR rights, meaning thereby if someone is violating IPR rights of someone and that thing is brought to the knowledge of an intermediary company, then they are liable not to host it on their website. That's why I said that whenever someone is putting up anything on the website of an intermediary, they need to give an undertaking that they have the right, proprietary right. Then coming to Rule 3.4, it states that the intermediary, upon obtaining knowledge by itself or being brought to actual knowledge by an affected person in writing or by an email, shall act within 36 hours or where applicable, work with user, owner of such information to disable such information that is in contravention of subrule 2. 3.4 was also read down by the Supreme Court of India in Shreyas Singhal, because they said intermediary should not act upon its own knowledge. They should rather get an order from the court and only then they can take it down. Because in Shreyas Singhal, they were not totally concentrating only on the IPR rights, but they were rather concerned with Article 19(2) of right to freedom of speech and expression. When I say basically intermediary are not only OLX, Amazon, Flipkart, Twitter, Facebook are also intermediaries because they are providing a platform to people to express their ideas. So Shreyas Singhal was basically on the point as to how to safeguard Article 19(2) of the Constitution of India, at the same time give some kind of immunity to intermediaries. And that's how the court read down Section 79(3)(b) in Rule 3.4. But in the case of IPR, we are yet to see as to how the courts, or we are yet to see any Supreme Court judgment to deal with IPR rights as well as intermediary rights and how to balance these two rights. As you can see, my fifth point, judgment was more in context of Article 19(2) of the Constitution of India. Now we come to the point of Copyright Act 1957. So till 2011, Information Technology Act was the only act which was dealing with these kind of scenarios. Copyright Act was amended in 2012 and a particular section was inserted to safeguard the interest of people who have claim and have right or copyright over certain products. So it reads Section 52(1)(c), which provides certain acts not to be infringement of copyright. It provides that transient or incidental storage of a work or performance for the purpose of providing electronic links, access or integration where such links, access or integration has not been expressly prohibited by the right holder unless the person responsible is aware or has reasonable grounds for believing that such storage is of an infringing copy. So it basically gives certain rights to the person who is claiming a right or copyright over his product. So the person responsible has to send a written complaint saying that putting up such a stuff on your website is actually infringing his copyright. And once the intermediary company receives that information, they should block that access for 21 days. So, what is the impact or what is the importance of 21 days? Basically, it gives a right to the person who is claiming copyright to go and approach a court to get a court order. And once the court order is received, then it is prima facie proved that he has a copyright, and then the access has to be blocked. But if he doesn't get an order within 21 days, then the intermediary is not liable to put it down. As you may see, he may continue to provide the facility of such access. So, to enforce the rights which were given in 52(1)(c), Copyright Rules 2013 were also brought in, and in especially Rule 75 is relevant for the intermediaries. The written complaint, what does it say? How do you write a complaint? Whenever you consider a scenario wherein I'm going through a website, or your client is going through a website, and he gets to know that someone is infringing his copyright. So he can resort to Rule 75, write a written complaint containing the following particulars. He has to write description of the work with adequate information. He has to show that he is the owner, exclusive licensee of copyright. He has to show that the work which is there on the website is basically an infringing copy of the work. He has to also disclose details of the location and the details of the person. And the F is very relevant. It says undertaking that the complainant shall file an infringement suit in the competent court against the person uploading the infringing copy and produce the orders of the competent court having jurisdiction. So once I receive that kind of complaint, I'll have to block the access within 36 hours, and he has to get an order within 21 days to make sure that I keep blocking that access. So now we have come across substantive law regarding intermediaries. They are defined in the IT Act. Exemptions have been provided where they cannot be held liable. Section 79 talks about it. We have gone through intermediary guidelines, which says that what kind of due diligence is required to be done. And now we have also gone through the Copyright Act, which is a substantive provision talking about the course that one should take once they get to know that something is basically infringing their copyright. And then the copyright rules. So after going through all this, the question which may arise, the reliefs which may be sought against the intermediaries, I would say it will be, unless and until we can show that they have not followed section 79.2 and 79.3, it will be very difficult to claim any kind of relief against the intermediaries. So the only relief that can be taken against them is basically a takedown request, wherein you can say, where you can basically ask the court to direct them to take down that material from their website. So what would be the ideal approach? The ideal approach would be to better send a notice first, asking, like we had just gone through Rule 75, which gives us 21 days time frame to approach the court. Even otherwise, under the intermediary guidelines, because this is copyright, you may have an issue under Trademarks Act, and there is no corresponding section like Rule 75 in Trademarks Act. So you may resort to Information Technology Act and send a notice saying that this particular thing is actually infringing your trademark, and please take it down. Because it furthers your case. When you are approaching the court, you may take a plea before the court saying that despite a specific request being raised by you to the intermediary saying that please take down this material, they have not taken it down. And the court may pass an interim injunction or interim order saying that please take it down, and then it will be easier for you to get that kind of relief. And Now, after going through all this, we know that intermediaries are enjoying a lot of rights under the present regime. And it makes sense as well because sufficient safeguards have already prescribed by inserting section 79(2) or 3 of the Act. I'm just putting for your consumption this particular case law called Amazon Seller Services Private Limited versus Amway Indian Enterprises. This is a suit which was filed by Amway against the Amazon, saying that by allowing our products on your website, you are infringing our rights. And the contentions which were raised before the court and how the courts have dealt with it, I've just summarized for your consumption. See, the appellant's defendant disputed the trademark infringement claims inter alia, taking a stand that once proprietors of trademark claims have sold the goods, they extinguish their right over the trademark to resell the goods so acquired. So this is something called direct sale guidelines, on the basis of which Amway had filed a suit saying that they did not take any permission from us before putting up the goods on the website because Amway was the registered proprietor. They said once you, like, you must have seen many people can sell Parle-G biscuits, many people can sell deodorants and all those things. So and these retailers can also put up these products on the intermediaries website. Once the proprietor sells the goods to the retailer, it passes on that right as well over the goods. The second thing which was considered by the court was an intermediary is not liable for any third party information, data or communication link made available or posted by it as long as it complies with section 79(2) or 3 of the Act. It is to ensure that the liability for non-compliance and for violation by a third party, that is the seller, is not fastened on the online marketplace. They further held that the value-added services like storage, packing, and delivery provided by them as online market policies do not dilute the safe harbor granted to them under Section 79 of the Information Technology Act 2000. So this is basically the court said that just because they are providing all these additional services like storage, packaging, delivery, you must have seen that Amazon, though the good would be belonging to some company, but it comes packed in a Amazon packet. So the court considered that just because they have provided all these services doesn't dilute the safe harbor granted to them under Section 79. You cannot take away that liability unless and until they have not followed Section 79(2) or 3 of the Act. So the whole immunity works more around Section 79(2) or 3 for intermediaries. But there are some loopholes as well at the same time. I must point it out. You must have seen that Amazon now has started selling its own brand. Now you can buy fridge, TVs, ACs of Amazon brand. We have seen that you can, there is all Section 79(2) says that you cannot initiate any transmission. Now Amazon is actually putting up its own products on the website. Does it take away the protection which has been granted to them under Section 79(2) or 3 of the Act? That is something which has to be explored yet and has not been dealt with by the court till now. The other issues like Flipkart. Flipkart is now selling products like Marq. You must have seen that ACs of Marq. This is also a brand promoted by Flipkart. Is also selling products on Flipkart. So can we say that they are now initiating transmission? And once they are initiating the transmission, that means anymore they cannot enjoy the protection granted to them under Section 79(2) or 3 or 79(1). Sorry, Section 79(1) protection will not be available to them because they are not being following, or they are not following the guidelines as been provided by Section 79(2) or 3 of the Act, because they are now initiating the transmission. But the problem is that in those cases, nobody will go to the court saying that, see, they are not initiating the transmission. Mostly intermediaries are made a party when someone else is infringing their if someone else is infringing the product on their website, but they themselves are never made a main contesting party. So a law is yet to be developed, and these issues are yet to be discussed by the court, wherein how can an intermediary can have its own brand and sell its on its own platform. So this is the broad spectrum with regard to the reliefs which may be sought against the intermediaries. We need to go through IT Act, Copyright Trademarks Act, Section 79, Intermediary Guidelines, Rule 75, and Copyright Act 52(1)(c), if in case we have to seek any kind of relief for and against intermediaries. Now, one of the most fascinating aspect of these issues is basically jurisdictional issues. Because what has been happening now, on the basis of internet accessibility, you can choose a forum. You must have seen that Section 20 CPC is the main governing provision to determine jurisdiction. Then there are provisions like Section 134(2) Trademarks Act and Section 62(2) Copyright Act 1956, which give additional forum to the registered proprietor to sue, and this is basically a departure from Section 20 CPC. Section 20 CPC basically gives you right to file a suit in a place where a defendant has residence or a place of business or the cause of action has arisen. Section 134(2) gives a right to the plaintiff to sue at its own place of business. He need not go to the defendant's place and seek a remedy there, meaning thereby, if I am a registered proprietor in Delhi and someone is infringing my right in Bombay, as per Section 20 CPC, I should go to Bombay to enforce my right against the person. But Section 134(2) and Section 62(2) say that I can file a suit in Delhi itself against that person. And the relevant judgment, and that's a classic judgment to deal with these scenarios, is in the matter of Banyan Tree Holding versus A. Murali Krishna Reddy. It's a division bench judgment of Delhi High Court, and it laid down certain principles to determine jurisdiction on the basis of accessibility of infringer's website. The reasoning, which now has been extended to intermediaries' website as well. So I'll tell you, Banyan Tree was given in 2009 when intermediaries were yet to come and yet to have business in India. So Banyan Tree laid down principles as in, if a defendant's website can be accessed from Delhi and it can conclude a commercial transaction using that website, then the Delhi court will exercise jurisdiction over that cause of action. And the court, while deciding this issue, whether a website, if both the defendants and plaintiffs do not belong to Delhi, but their website is actually doing a business in Delhi and causing damage to the plaintiff's business, then in that scenario, whether a Delhi High Court will have jurisdiction or not, and what will be the criteria to decide it.